What's going on, guys? Matt here with another installment to Path to Platinum. Today we're going to be covering a newfound love of mine and an incredibly addicting and well-made indie game, Enter The Gungeon. Now, just quickly before we begin, a little disclaimer: I will not be covering trophies I deem are too straightforward or otherwise unmissable trophies. I'm only going to be going over trophies that require at least somewhat of an explanation. Good? Good. If you guys enjoy this video very much and it helps you out, and you enjoyed the guide and the level of detail and thoroughness that I put into my videos, I would really appreciate it if you guys would come out and hang out in my live streams, which I do almost every day, or at least I try to anyway. But I would really appreciate the support. So if you guys enjoy this kind of thing, I trophy hunt all the time during my live streams. It's 9 times out of 10 what I'm doing during my live streams. So maybe one of these days I'm playing a game that you guys want to watch some trophies, get some trophies in. Maybe you want to watch sometime. You never know. You might enjoy yourself. But I would appreciate it. Just a thought. If you don't want to, though, that's perfectly fine. Alright, so let's start off with some info about the game and what you're going to be getting into. I'll begin by saying, if you're serious about this game's platinum, then be prepared to invest a shitload of time, because this game's trophy list is no joke, and will require a great deal of dedication and skill, especially if you're going the journey alone. That being said, I can attest to the fact that this game's daunting trophy list can be made much more manageable with the assistance of a friend. I myself have done it this way, and I highly recommend everyone playing do the same. Gungeon's local multiplayer actually makes the game's difficulty overall noticeably easier to overcome. However, that's the trade-off. This game only has local co-op and no online matchmaking. To bypass this issue, me and my partner used the share play function on PS4, which allowed us to play online. However, if you do this, you better have a damn good internet connection, because share play can get laggy, and this game requires some pinpoint accuracy on button inputs in order to best this game's greatest challenges. To that end, that covers the most useful piece of advice I have to offer. Now let's dive into the more specific stuff and what you're all here for, the trophies. Now, naturally, you're going to want to start with the tutorial, and besides, there's a couple trophies relevant to the tutorial, so it makes sense to start here. Firstly, you're going to get a trophy to simply complete the tutorial, which is straightforward enough. However, when you happen upon this particular room during the tutorial, you'll notice a crack in the wall. Use a blank here to uncover a secret room and loot the items inside. If you don't have a blank at this point, the room does offer you a free one. Once you've done that, go ahead and talk to Manuel again after you defeat him, and he'll tell you his story. He'll tell you about the one who killed him, and ask you to avenge him. If you've done this, then Blocker will spawn as a mini-boss at some point during your run. Defeat him and the trophy's yours. Now, when you start out in Gungeon, you're going to have little to no unlocks, naturally, so I would recommend just focusing on beating the game and keeping your runs relatively simple, and aim to craft the bullet that can kill the past. To do this, you'll need 4 components. There's the Prime Primer, which can be obtained as early as the 2nd floor shop for 110 coins. Then there's the Arcane Gunpowder, which can be found on the 3rd floor. You'll know you're in the right place when you see the minecarts with no rails. Carefully follow the path and claim your prize. However, it's worth noting that this item counts as a usable item and will take the place of whatever else you're carrying. There's the planar lead on the 4th floor. However, this one's a bit of a bitch. The path is invisible, and losing all of your health trying to get across is way too risky and could kill your run. So I'd recommend waiting until you find an item that grants flight, or another similar ability to glide over. Lastly, there's the obsidian casing, and you can get this by breaking the dragon's skull in the 5th floor after you defeat him. Once you've done all this, return all the pieces to the blacksmith on the 5th floor, and she will craft you the bullet. Once you've done this, you never have to collect the materials again. This goes for each individual piece that you turn into her as well. And she will always offer you the bullet on every run that follows when spoken to. To kill your past, simply shoot yourself at the end of the game with the bullet in your inventory. This will grant you access to your particular character's true ending. However, each character's past does contain a unique boss that you must defeat in order to obtain your trophy. Relevant to your past, there is also another trophy to die during your character's past. This one is a bit of a cunt, honestly, and is pretty much a complete and total waste of time. But alas, it must be done. Such is the burden of a trophy hunter. Now, from here on out, whatever happens next in your runs is pretty much up in the air, to be honest. Every run is different and random. So I'm just going to go over the rest of the trophies in no particular order, and feel free to navigate the timestamps in the description to jump to any specific trophy. Alright, next up's gonna be Rage Mode. Flip a total of 500 tables over the course of playing the game. Just always be flipping tables and you'll get this no problem. Next up is gonna be Kill 100 enemies by dropping chandeliers on them. Now this one's a bit tricky because chandeliers only spawn on the first floor, so you are going to be having to do the first floor quite a lot to get 100 kills. I would recommend weakening the enemies first before actually dropping the chandelier. It makes it easier. Next up, access the oubliette. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You could let me know if I'm butchering it if you want. Anyways, find a water barrel. Bring it to the fireplace room, which is always on the first floor. Walk into the fireplace. Hit the switch. Then, uncover secret room. Go to said secret room. Unlock. You'll need 2 keys minimum. And there you go. The oubliette. Also, make sure the enemies don't destroy the water barrel. If they do, you'll have to start again. Alright, so next one's gonna be Beastmaster. Complete the game with Beast Mode on. This trophy's a bit of a joke. If you go into the options and go to the settings, you can enable Beast Mode. However, it literally doesn't do anything. So, flick it on, beat the game, easy trophy. Next up is gonna be Lion Leap, which requires you to fall at the last second. What does this mean, you may ask? Well, get to the end of the game right before you shoot yourself, and simply fall off the ledge. Yet cryptic as hell. Next up's gonna be I Knew Someone Would Do It, another cryptic trophy. All it does is require you to simply push a table into a pit. Any pit! And yet another cryptic trophy, Biggest Wallet. It simply requires you to have 300 coins in your inventory at any given moment. Next up is gonna be Day Ruiner. Now, this one is a bit tricky. It's completely luck-based. You'll have to find this weapon, specifically, the mailbox. Now, you need this weapon, so you're practically at the game's mercy, if it decides to give it to you or not. But what you're gonna want to do is empty the clip when you're fighting a boss. You'll notice that the very last bullet in the clip is a package. Now, sometimes this package has a random chance to explode into glitter. When this happens, the boss will be considered to be covered in glitter. Simply defeat the boss after you hit him with that package, and boom, you got your trophy. Easy peasy, but not that easy, because you gotta pray to God the game gives you the mailbox. Next up, kill a frozen enemy by rolling into it. This is pretty easy to do. There's a lot of weapons and items in the game that allow you to freeze enemies. And once you do, they have to be weakened enough that the dodge roll into them will actually finish them off. And next we have kill 100 enemies while riding a minecart. I know I said I wasn't going to cover very straightforward trophies, but this trophy can only be done on the 3rd floor, so I figured it was worth mentioning. After that, we have kill 100 enemies by knocking them into pits. Any pits will do, just shoot them into a pit. This kills most enemies in the game instantly. Very easy. However, this next one is not. Access the temple. Now, you'll need the crest. You can only find the crest in the oubliette, so you will have had to have gone to the oubliette from the 1st floor. Once you have the crest, next up you'll be able to go through the 2nd floor, and when you do, you'll need to find the room that you can use the crest in. Now, this is going to be random because every floor is laid out randomly, RNG and all that garbage. So you'll have to pray to God you find the room, and also you cannot get hit while you have the crest. If you get hit, you lose the crest. So you will have to find this room without taking damage. Easier said than done, but once you find the room, just simply place the crest on the altar and you're good. Once you've done that, you will be able to access the temple. However, little piece of advice, you should probably grab the crest after you kill the boss in the oubliette so that you don't have to risk, getting hit. Next up, Woodsie Lord, steal 10 things. Now, there are a number of items that allow you to steal in the game. For example, the cardboard box from Metal Gear. And you'll notice when you're using certain items like this, you'll have stealth, which is indicated by the purple circle above my head here, you can see. And I am able to freely steal from any shopkeeper as long as you're stealth. Don't use the box right in front of them, obviously, because you won't have the stealth. But here's a list of items that you can also use to steal. Any shopkeeper will do, not just the main shopkeep, and just steal 10 items. Every time you do, though, you'll build up curse. Speaking of curse, you'll need curse in order to find mimics. Mimics are more likely to spawn when you're cursed. And this trophy is simply to kill a mimic. Guaranteed you'll run into 100% if you're trying to platinum the game. It'll happen at some point. Now, if you'd like to know how to effectively accumulate curse, I've showed some ways on screen right now on how you can do that. Now, next up's going to be the password, which is a trophy you can get for accessing the hidden market. Now, the hidden market will show up randomly. It's completely random, so you're at the game's mercy for this one as well. And when it shows up, you will need 100 coins or at least 1 curse in order to enter. However, it should be noted that you don't actually spend the coins or the curse to get in, you just need them as a prerequisite. Alright, next up is going to be Exorcist, kill a jammed boss. So to do this, you're going to need to be cursed, and depending on your amount of curse, this will be more likely to happen. The boss can randomly just spawn as a harder version of itself, called a jammed boss, and simply defeat it, and the trophy's yours. Now this trophy, Jammed, is cryptic as hell, but what you'll have to do is get your curse to a maximum of 10. Once you've done this, the almighty, all-powerful Jammed Death will spawn, and he will follow you in each and every room, on every floor, and even in boss fights, and he will attack you constantly. And obviously this is not ideal for you to actually complete this run when this happens, but just do it to get the trophy. And next, I'm going to show you how to unlock the Bullet character. Now, to do this, there are friendly Bulletkin that could just randomly spawn at any time on any floor in almost any room. And you'll see them just walking around doing their thing. They will not attack you. They're completely non-hostile. And when you see these guys, don't kill them. Just let them walk around and do their thing until they despawn. Do this 5 times, and you will unlock the Bullet. Now, to unlock the robot, this is a lot trickier and a lot more of a hassle, but less RNG related. So, at the soonest time you can start doing this is on the 2nd floor. Jump into the elevator shaft as soon as you begin, and go ahead and grab the broken TV. Now, this item is, like I said, a huge fucking pain in the ass. You need to lug this thing all the way to the blacksmith on the 5th floor. Now, if you can only get through the room by jumping over gaps, you'll have to toss the TV over by using the item. Always remember to re-pick up the TV after you drop it, because if you leave the floor without it, it will despawn and you'll have to do it all over again and start from the beginning. Also, every time you roll, you also drop the TV, so just always be mindful to pick it back up when you drop it. Bring it to the blacksmith, talk to her with it in your inventory, and she will craft you the robot character. Alright, next up, we're going to populate the breach. So to do this, we need each and every NPC in the game. So first up is going to be Blockner. You just got to kill him in order to unlock him. I spoke about this earlier. Next is going to be Cadence and Ox. You can find them in a prison cell, which you will always need the gold key in order to free people from cells. Frightful, same thing. You can find him in a cell randomly in the Gungeon. Same with the Ledge Goblin. You will randomly find her in a cell. Her quest takes a long time. And Winchester you can find randomly. Play his minigame and you'll unlock him. Even if you lose, you don't have to win. With Torque, you have to find him and buy at least one item for him to show up in the breach. Doug, you can find him in a cell. Just free him and he's yours. The Lost Adventurer, you will have to map every floor and fully complete his quest. Professor Goopton, you can find in a cell. So just free him, same as the others. Gunsling King, you also find in a cell, and you'll have him from there after. Bowler, same thing. You find him in a cell. You find like 90% of the NPCs in cells. Same with Daisuke. You will free him from a cell as well. And the Sorceress, everybody in this room actually, you can free from the cell. And last is Tonic, which you can also free from the cell. And lastly, we have Tinkerer, and you also have to free him from the cell. Now, next up is going to be Patron. This requires you to spend big at the acquisitions department, which means 100 credits. You can get credits from defeating bosses and mini-bosses. Next up, we got Rearmed. Now, this quest is going to take quite a while, but you will be able to do it much earlier on. When you first speak to the blacksmith in the 5th floor, she will have the golem's arm for you. All you gotta do is grab it, then find an enemy with a balloon on the 5th floor, and put the arm on the balloon. The balloon will send the arm up to the previous floor, and then the next time you run through the Gungeon, the previous floor will have the arm that you must find, and you have to find the balloon as well on a random enemy, and keep doing it until it's all the way back up into the breach. Once you've done that, pick it up, talk to Ox, give him his arm, you're golden. Now next we got Hedge Slinger, which is to win a wager against the Gunsling King 5 times. Now, his challenges are pretty straightforward and pretty easy. You talk to him, you pay the man, and he gives you a challenge, and he'll ask you to go into a specific room and complete the challenge under his restrictions. This will require you to not dodge roll, not open your map, use a gun of his choosing, whatever he wants. He'll give you some kind of stipulation, but they're usually pretty fucking easy. Just do it 5 times. Now, with Frightful, this guy's way more of a pain in the ass. He's got a whole list of challenges for you, which I'll put on screen right now. He'll ask you to kill a specific enemy type and a certain number of them. Some of them are a huge pain in the ass to find. Kill them all and the trophy's yours. And then there's the Cartographer's Assistant Trophy, which will require you, as I said a little bit earlier, to fully complete the Lost Adventurers side quest. Every time you see him, he'll randomly spawn on any floor in any room, once per run, and he'll ask you to map out every room on the floor he's on. Do this 5 times for each floor, and you'll complete his quest. This will probably take you a while. It was one of the last trophies I got. Now, next up, we have Trickshot, which is to ace Winchester's minigame 3 times. Now, this is way easier said than done. This minigame is a huge fucking pain in the ass, and it's very frustrating to lose because he's completely random. He will just randomly show up on any floor in a random room, and you gotta pray that he's gonna be in your run and that you're gonna find him. Once you do, you can play his minigame. You gotta pay him in order to play. Now, when you play, in order to ace his game, you have to hit every single target, and he only gives you as many bullets as there are targets, so this is rough. You literally can't miss a shot, otherwise you're gonna fail. Now, honestly, this minigame is extremely difficult, and it's just gonna require a lot of practice, and there's not much I can really show you or say in order to make you better at this. It's just gonna come down to your level of skill, unfortunately, as with a lot of things in this game. However, there is one really cool tip I could tell you to help you out. If you happen to have this scenario occur, it really makes his minigame a lot easier. Now, there's a specific item you can buy specifically from Professor Goopton. Once you've unlocked him in the breach, he will sell an item called duct tape. Now, if you buy it, you can randomly have duct tape appear in your run. And if you happen to get duct tape, you can actually use it. It's an active item that shows up in your inventory when you pick it up. And when you use it, you can actually save it and use it on the gun that Winchester gives you for the minigame. Now, if you use this, it will essentially give you the magazine clip from one of your other guns and put it on his gun. This means that you'll get, depending on the gun that you merged with his, way more shots. You'll get way more bullets instead of the initial 4 he gives you, and you'll have way more chances to actually hit your targets and it makes the game so much easier because you got lots of room for error. You can miss a lot. Again, depending on the magazine clip that you combine with it, you'll get way more chances to actually hit the marks. And if you were to ever have this happen, it's pretty much a for sure thing. You'll undoubtedly ace the game. And this is definitely going to take you a while, and it's very difficult, but that's just one tip I got for you. If you ever manage to have it happen, that's all really I could say. Otherwise, good luck to you guys. It's a tough one. Now next up, we're going to cover the Silver Trophy gun game, which requires you to complete the game with the Sorceress's Enchanted Gun. Now, she doesn't actually give you a gun, but you will have to find her and free her from her cell and unlock her, and then talk to her in the breach, and she will offer you a specific game type, and if you agree to it, the next time you run through the Gungeon, you will be under a specific set of rules during the run. Essentially, you'll start with a random gun, and progressively, as you move through the Gungeon and go from room to room, your gun will just randomly change into another gun in the weapon pool that you've unlocked. And this could happen almost at any time, like even during a fight, your gun will just randomly change, and it's kind of frustrating, especially if you've unlocked a lot of really shitty guns and you end up getting them during boss fights. It's pretty bad. But this is a trophy you gotta do. It's challenging, but all you have to do is just get to the 5th floor, defeat the High Dragon, and that'll be the end of the run. So I wouldn't recommend doing any extra shit like the Oubliette or the Temple. Don't do extra floors. Just concentrate on the main game. When you're doing this run, all you really have to worry about is hope that you get nice secondary items that give you cool passive abilities, which will end up helping you get through each room. Other than that, there's not much you can hope for, other than praying to God the game gives you a good gun. I would also really recommend doing this mode on 2-player, as it makes the mode a hell of a lot easier, as it's a lot less likely that both you and your partner are going to have a shitty gun. Also, one last tip, if you happen to be holding a really dog shit gun, and you have a boss fight right in front of you, and you're ready to jump into the next room and start the boss, what you can do as a neat trick is if your gun is like absolute total dog shit and you absolutely do not want to use it on the boss, you can empty the entire clip. This might take a while depending on how much bullets the gun has. And when the gun hits 0 bullets, it'll automatically change to another gun. Now, your gun's probably going to change rather quickly from the moment you enter the room once again, but at least you won't have to put up with that initial gun for whatever set amount of time that you would have had to have done so. It's not much, but it is a tip, and best of luck to you guys on completing the run. It just really comes down to your level of skill at the game. Now next up, we're going to talk about Tinker's side quest, which is a very unique quest, and it requires you to give him enough materials and parts in order to repair the elevator. Now, what repairing the elevator does is it essentially creates a shortcut for you. For each floor that you repair the elevator on, you'll be able to jump between floors. So, for example, if you have all the elevators repaired and you wanted to do a run through the Gungeon, but you didn't want to do, let's say, the first 3 floors, you could skip straight to the 4th floor or the 5th floor. If you've repaired the elevator on every single floor, you can go to every single floor in whichever order you want. However, repairing the elevators is not easy. It requires a shitload of stuff. Tinker's gonna ask you for 3 different things on each floor, and you're going to be required to have those things at the time when you reach him on the floor. If you leave to the next floor without giving him what he wants, you'll miss your chance for that run and you'll have to do it all over again. So you really need to keep an eye out and make sure that you have what he needs when he needs it. Now, not every run through Gungeon is going to be good for repairing the elevator, but whenever you can repair the elevator or make progress towards it, I highly recommend doing so, as it's very valuable to have access to the elevator, and it's a pain in the ass to do, so it's nice to get it out of the way. Much like the blacksmith in the 5th floor, every time you give him what he wants, you never have to do it again. So even if you give him one thing that he asks for and then die, or you can't give him the next thing he wants, that's fine. At least the next time you start your run, you will be back where you started in terms of progress towards the elevator, and you won't have to give him what you gave him before. You won't have to collect those same materials again. It's going to be a long grind, it's going to take a while, but it's definitely worth doing, especially for one of the hardest trophies in the game, which I'll talk about very soon. Now, next trophy I'm going to talk about is a big one, and it's going to be Gungeon Master, and you'll get this for completing the 6th chamber. Now, you can unlock the 6th chamber by beating all 4 of the main characters' pasts. Once you've done this, and you defeat the High Dragon, you will be pulled into Hell automatically and forced into the 6th chamber. Although, from here on out, once you've actually been to Hell, you will always have the choice to go to Hell after the 5th chamber, after you defeat the High Dragon. You'll have a choice on whether or not you want to actually do Hell, but for the first time you get there, you are forced to go there, regardless of how good your run is going, so just be aware of that. As for actually completing the 6th chamber, this is without a doubt the hardest floor in the game, and you'll encounter some of the hardest enemies that you could possibly fight. It's a bit of a labyrinth. The entire floor is randomly generated, and each path is very long. You will have to fight quite a bit before you actually find the boss. And once you do, he's one of the hardest bosses in the game, if not considered to be the hardest. He's definitely up there on my list. However, even the most challenging of bosses can be overcome if you have broken enough items with you. For example, I got this nifty item called the Singularity. Now, this item is so busted if you have the right guns to go with it. Essentially, you use Singularity, and it absorbs all bullets fired, including your own as well as the boss's. Now, if you can actually position the Singularity in the right way, it'll give you a clear tactical advantage. Every attack the boss fires will be absorbed into the Singularity, while you just shoot at him in between you and the Singularity, and all your bullets will get sucked in too, but every bullet that passes through the boss is actually damaging him on their way to the Singularity. This includes his own bullets. So if you position the Singularity in a way where his own bullets are hitting him as well as your bullets, you're going to do an insane amount of damage to him. Not to mention, if you have a really powerful gun with a high rate of fire, you can actually build up usage for the Singularity in enough time to be able to use it again as soon as it runs out. Meaning you can use it, build it up again, and then use it before the Singularity actually disappears. Essentially making it so that the Singularity is always up, and he never gets an opportunity to hit you. Now, this is just one example of a really broken method. There's a few things in this game that are really broken and can essentially win you the run entirely based off of one gimmick. And this is one of them, and it's a very powerful one. However, unfortunately, this is entirely luck-based. It's completely RNG. You have to pray to God the game gives you the right items in order to do this. However, if you get lucky enough for this to happen, it's a surefire way of getting the trophy and makes it a hell of a lot easier. Otherwise, you're going to have to rely completely on your skill, and this is some of the hardest content in the game, so best of luck to you. But my advice would be to just keep playing runs until you set up a run in a way that it looks like it's going to go very well for you and you have some really OP gear, and then attempt going for this trophy. Your method is completely within your control if the game gives you the right items. So use your best judgment and attempt this trophy when it feels right for you. And the last trophy I'm going to be talking about is the last trophy we haven't covered in the game, and that's going to be the Lead God trophy. You'll have to collect 5 Master Rounds in one run to get this trophy. Now this, once again, is one of the hardest things to do in the game. Master Rounds are an item that is rewarded to you for beating a specific chamber's boss fight without getting hit. Now, obviously, this takes quite a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of experience on your part to be very familiar with each and every boss fight. However, there are some tips for this trophy that I can give you. For example, Optional floor bosses do not count, and they do not offer master rounds. For example, the boss in the Oubliette, the boss in the temple, the rat boss, such and so forth. Only the main bosses of chambers 1 through 5 count towards giving you a master round. So these are the only bosses you have to defeat in order to get them. Now, you could just keep attempting regular run-of-the-mill runs through the Gungeon, praying to God that you're good enough to do this on each and every boss. However, what I would personally recommend would be to finish repairing all the elevators via Tinker's side quest. And once you've done this, he actually enables a new mode in the game for you, which is Boss Rush. Now, Boss Rush is actually the ideal way of getting this trophy, in my opinion, for one main reason. Boss Rush actually forces you to fight every single boss in the game. Now, what's interesting about this is that each chamber has multiple bosses. For example, in the first chamber, you can fight Gatling Gull, but you can also fight twins, as well as the Bullet King. So Boss Rush is going to force you to fight all three. Now, what's nice about this is that you essentially have 3 chances to gain the first chamber's master round. If you fight Gatling Gull and he hits you, you'll have another chance to get the first floor's master round on the other 2 bosses. And this goes for every floor, because every floor has multiple different bosses you can fight. So if you do this through Boss Rush mode, you have multiple attempts to get each floor's master round. Now, I'm not saying fighting every single boss in the game's gonna be easy, because we all know it's not. Like I said, this is one of the hardest things to do in the game, and I pray to God that it goes well for you guys. What I said about the 6th chamber still applies here. Essentially, you're gonna have to keep attempting this until you get something really nice in terms of items to help you defeat these bosses. For example, when me and my partner were attempting this, we got a really broken combo with the black hole gun and the tentacle gun. I forgot what the hell it's called. But they combined to make this really busted gun that absorbs all bullets and does an insane amount of damage. And it also has a crazy amount of ammo. So we never ended up running out of ammo the entire way. And we defeated every boss with the greatest of ease using this method. And we got completely lucky, I'm not gonna lie. The game just happened to give us this combo, and it worked out great. It was easy for the trophy. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen every time, because it's not. You're gonna have to get crazy lucky with this if you want the run to go extremely well, or you could just be a fucking boss about it and do it yourself with piece of shit gear. If you're good enough, hey, it's possible. But those are the only real tips I can give you. And honestly, for a lot of the trophies in the game, just like this one, you're at the game's mercy because of the RNG element and how this game is completely random in so many ways. So if you're not relying on pure skill and you don't consider yourself to be all that good at this game, you're pretty much going to be relying on luck, which really sucks. And it's what makes this platinum very difficult. But like I said, I wish the best of luck to you guys, and I truly hope that you can overcome this incredible challenge. Now, time to give this bitch a rating. I'm personally going to give this game a solid 8 out of 10. This game requires a great deal of skill and almost just as much luck in order to be conquered, and those 2 factors don't always get along well, making this game's trophy list a bit of a wild card. I can easily see someone getting frustrated with this game's trophy list, especially if they don't have a second player to help them through it. Because of that, I do think that it's truly one of the most difficult platinum trophies I've ever earned. It is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. If you're gonna attempt it, you really gotta love playing this game. Otherwise, it's gonna feel more like work and less like fun. But for those of you who enjoy a challenge and are more on the competitive side of the spectrum, this game is a blast to play and a lot of fun to perfect. And with that, that is gonna be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video or it helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It definitely helps me out in the long run. If you guys want more trophies, don't forget to check out the rest of my Path to Platinum videos over on my channel. And if it strikes your fancy, come join the trophy hunt in my live streams and help make the experience more fun for everyone. To that end, have a wonderful day, everybody, and I will definitely see you in the next one. Matt, out.